regularly in our lives, we sort of lean one way or the other, but most often we think of sanctification as I got to learn how to say yes and obey and submit my life to God. But we don't spend a lot of time thinking about saying no. It requires both. And I would submit to you that the ceremonial cleaning that is talking about here, purifying the priests, the Levites, and people and all of that, resources and all of that kind of stuff, I would submit to you that the leaders, no doubt, in their purification reality, were fasting. I suspect if we're like regular North American Christians, not many of us engage in the discipline of fasting. It was unheard of in ancient Christianity not to fast, and in the Old Testament not to fast. And it is generally extraordinary when God's people in a modern context fast. You see, fasting is the one discipline in our lives that trains us to say no. And so you may be having a challenge in your life in particular. And I was thinking about this whole issue of fasting. Jesus, you remember, talking to his disciples, said one time when they came back and they said, we couldn't get rid of the evil spirits that were in the... And he said, these spirits can only come out by prayer and fasting. And we all, many of us were here not too long ago when I did the series in Daniel, and you'll remember that Daniel was exercised in his heart over a particular matter in Daniel chapter 9, and it says there that he was praying, and we know that this prayer was in the context of this spiritual battle that was going on with the prince of Persia, the demon representing in the high places, representing that country, and it says there in the text, Daniel chapter 9, verse 3, that he was praying and fasting. And in that context, it says that your prayers were heard, Daniel, but 21 days Michael fought with the prince of Persia to get an answer, a response to that prayer. And that required fasting. If Daniel hadn't have fasted, who knows what would have happened there? And listen, I don't pretend to know how things go on in the heavenlies, but God has given us examples in his word on purpose that we might understand the nature of what he has here. And so I would submit to you that perhaps we have ignored this in the area of consecration of our lives and sanctification of our lives. And I just want to say to you that there may be some of you out here this morning that are really up against something that is really burdening your heart. And you haven't been able to make progress spiritually. And you know that it's biblical, what's on your heart. You also know that you believe with all of your heart that it would be God's will that this would take place. You're also, as far as you know, you have a pure heart and clean hands before God. You've expressed to God, if there's any sin in my life, God, I repent of it, I move away from it. And so all of that's happening, but you're still not moving forward. You're still not seeing movement forward. It may be that it would require of you a time of fasting to come before God, learning how to say no. He sometimes doesn't give us things because he wants to teach us how to say no in our lives in other areas for furthering spiritual advantage in our lives.